I've been in that rotunda when you've had people who were elected officials lying in state in a formal way, and you can feel it. But even more so for somebody who was not a household name, was not a president of the United States or a United States senator, but somebody who was literally in the line of duty and gave his life in order to protect, and not just to protect from so many of the threats that we think about when we walk those halls, and I certainly did after 9/11, for example, from international forces, but from within, from people inside the United States, American citizens, storming the Capitol while members of Congress were doing their constitutional duty in order to certify the Electoral College. And these people were doing so in the name of the President of the United States, forging ahead based on lies that he continued to tell, and those who are his supporters did as well. And that is what makes this even more heart-wrenching, that is the reason why we're watching this solemn moment.
You know, Chris, I've been conversing with our colleague, Josh Campbell, who's a former FBI agent. He said to me, there's no job in Washington like a Capitol police officer. Your job is to protect a major target filled with giant egos, as we know. Yet it's also supposed to be the people's house, welcoming in normal times for people to see their representatives. And I think people want the people's house to get back to that, because we have gone so far astray, especially since January 6th. This is a reminder of what's at stake that we're watching on our screens right now, Chris.
We are, and we're seeing the best of us right now, men and women who took an oath to defend us, to protect, to serve, and they did just that at a time that this country needed it most. And I don't think it can be overstated, and I think that this is the right thing to be done for Officer Sicknick and the right thing to be done for this country at the right time. You could argue it took too long, almost a month later, for us to start recognizing the gravity of this moment as a day that should and must live in infamy. And yet, we've never seen anything like it before. And you said, Don, hopefully we'll never see anything like it again. That is only the inheritance of people who learn from a mistake. And I have no security in that idea right now. Things have really not gotten better since January 6th. And as for being the people's house, it is. And if we could just get back to it being about the people's business and how much progress can be made, how much productivity can be made, instead of just how much anger and fomenting of different interests, you have to believe it would get to a better place. And that's what makes someone like a Representative Adam Kinzinger such an intriguing figure right now. A Senator Joe Manchin, such an intriguing figure right now. People who are going against the inclinations of their own for what they think is right.
Yeah. And, you know, I think Chris mentioned this earlier, Dan, and I want to know your thoughts on it, because you covered this. Joe Biden has 4 children from 2 marriages. His firstborn daughter, Naomi, Christina Biden, died. That was in 1972. It was a car accident with her mother. And then, you know, his son, Beau Biden, died in 2015. Talk about someone who knows empathy, who knows grief. That is this president, and it's an exact contrast of the last president. But Joe Biden knows grief, he knows empathy, and I think Chris called him the consoler. Hopefully he can be the consoler in chief in the coming hours, in the coming days.
Absolutely, and he will be. I mean, we saw him do that in his role as the Democratic candidate, throughout the summer, when he, during the riots, when he had moments where he could be that person. We saw him at CNN town halls.
There's the president there and the first lady arriving. And I think we should should just listen and let them pay their respects.
This is actually it's a replay of an earlier broadcast. For the people that aren't seeing the whole title.
President Joe Biden and the First Lady Jill Biden paying their respects to Officer Brian D. Sicknick, who lost his life in the line of duty on January 6th, protecting the Capitol and the lives inside of that Capitol. Dana Bash here with me, Chris Cuomo with me as well. Chris, Dana is talking about the empathy Joe Biden before the president came in to the Capitol. This president also a very religious man, walking up to the table, putting his right hand on the table, and then over his heart, and then going over to look at some of the flowers and really shaking his head, and you could a collective sigh, I'm sure, across the country of grief. In a moment that, quite frankly, made me tear up. I cannot believe where we are, but hopefully we will get beyond this point to a much better place, Chris.
You know, speaking with the president about his faith, he keeps it very simple. Obviously, he's a Christian and a Catholic, second to ever hold the office. But his faith in these matters comes down to two words: love, mercy. And it is a very ample instruction, no matter what you believe right now. We are honoring Officer Sicknick because of his dedication to something bigger than himself. And it is the highest ideal in our society, in our democracy. And there's so much pain in the Capitol right now. There's so much pain in his family. There's so much pain in his brothers and sisters who did the job, who there before the grace go they. And the shame of it is if we don't learn the lesson and don't honor the sacrifice by getting to a better place. And we have not done that since January 6th. And so for those who want to honor the officer, good, you should. But for those in power who say they want to do the same, we only know what they show in their intentions and their actions thereafter.
Yeah. Chris, thank you very much for helping us through this. I thought it was important that you have been doing such a fantastic job of covering this before. And again, as I told you, I was getting thank yous from members of law enforcement that we were covering this on CNN, and you happen to be on the air. So thank you for guiding us through this. I know you got to get on with your evening, so thank you very much. You're going to leave me with Dana Bash, and I think I'm in very able hands right now. So Chris, thank you so much. I'll see you soon, brother. I love you.
I love you, and sharing history with you and Dana, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. God bless and be well tonight.
Dana Bash, thank you, sir. Dana Bash, 36 years Joe Biden has been walking these halls with Capitol Police.
That's what I was thinking about, because I met then Senator Biden when he was in those hallowed halls, day after day, and he was for 3.5 decades. During some of his toughest times, during some of his best times, he had officers like these, like Officer Sicknick, there to protect him, just like those officers were protecting the other 99 senators he served with. And so we were talking about empathy and about the fact that because he's had so much pain in his own life, and for other reasons, he's just inherently so empathetic. But this is another level and another layer of that, because these Capitol Police officers were a part of his life for so many years as a United States Senator.
Yeah. Dan, again, I want to remind our viewers that we're watching laying in honor here now, Officer Brian D. Sicknick, who is a member of the Capitol Police who lost his life in the line of duty. We saw the President and the First Lady of the United States pay their respects just moments ago live here on CNN, and now you have members of the law enforcement community doing the same thing. They were doing it before the President and First Lady arrived, and they're doing it now as well. I want to get Dana, stand by, because I want to get now to CNN's Caitlin Collins. Caitlin joins us now by phone. Caitlin is our chief White House correspondent.
Yeah, she got a promotion.
And Caitlin, this was very important for the President of the United States to be here and to do this. We know his respect for law enforcement. We know that how he has dealt with grief after the loss of 2 children.
That's right. And, funnily enough, tomorrow is actually what would have been his son, Beau Biden's birthday, as well. As I heard the conversation you and Dan were having earlier about the grief that the president knows all too well. And we had not known exactly that he was going to be coming up to Capitol Hill tonight with the First Lady. We had an idea from White House officials, but this wasn't something that was on schedule until, of course, he left the White House earlier tonight and made his way up there to pay his respects. But we did know that in the days following the riot on Capitol Hill, President Biden actually had called the officer's family. That was at that point in time when the White House was delayed and lowered the flags, of course, when President Trump was still in office. And we know that the Vice President, Mike Pence, later called, and then President Biden later called his family and spoke with them as well. And so we had an idea that this is something that could be happening. And then you saw, of course, other leaders that were also there, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi sitting out on the steps as they were bringing in his remains in to lie in honor. And so it is notable, as Dana was saying, that this is a really rare distinction that you see someone get. Of course, this is a rare circumstance and rare events that led to this event that's now happening, late in the evening here on Capitol Hill in Washington. And so White House officials have been planning this for a few days, we were told, and they just had not said so explicitly for obvious reasons, given the security of a presidential visit somewhere. But they did say that it was something that they believed was a priority after he had spoken with his family in the days after he was killed.
Caitlin, thank you very much. Caitlin, we appreciate your report. Dana Bash, thank you for joining me on this historic evening and to cover the death and the honor of Brian Sicknick, the officer who lost his life in the line of duty on that insurrection on Capitol Hill. So we will continue to follow this news story. Again, the President of the United States, the First Lady, just paid honor to this fallen officer just moments ago, and these police officers will be doing this throughout the evening, and we will cover it here on CNN. In the meantime, there's a lot going on, and we need to talk about the COVID crisis in this country, because more than 30